Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Let's Remember Skies of Arcadia. We are getting sort of near the end of things. We need to head back to Crescent Isle, where we will sort of have another parting. Fina needs to go and take the moon crystals back to her people, and we'll sort of see how things progress from here. It's going to toss us into the overworld map, I believe. Or it just takes us back to Crescent Isle. Wow. That's fine. I have no problem with that. And so we've sort of completed our journey. And as I've said, characters move in and out of our party, joining us at certain times. We unfortunately had to leave Enrique behind, but Gilder returns to us. A very enjoyable character. Nice people. So we have to deal with heading back to the Great Silver Shrine, but I like having our characters cycle back and forth. I like this everybody's happy for what's going on. You've completed your mission. You're going home a hero.
Thank you very much.
I will talk about Fina more at the relevant time, which will be soon, but for now, the team will sort of celebrate, and we'll go from there. Once again, giving us these sort of quiet moments before we potentially encounter larger bits of action. It's nice, I enjoy it. People coming together, people celebrating. There's a sentiment to it that I enjoy. These characters feel like characters that want to spend time with each other. These are characters that enjoy each other. They cook for each other, they thank each other, they go to extraordinary lengths to reunite with each other. It's great. And sometimes I feel like that's a phrase I say too often. It's great, it's great. Isn't this so great? I wouldn't say it if I didn't feel it. There is a joy shared among these characters that are wonderful, and sentiments that are wonderful as well. Fina says, it's not just gold that we don't have. Flowers, animals, there are so many things I've never seen until I've came here. I've experienced so much. When I left the shrine, the elders told me you cannot trust anybody in that world. They said the people of this world were fools who just bickered amongst themselves. But I've met so many caring people while I was here. I learned that even though some try to obtain their objectives through war, there are others that work together to try and bring peace. Silly little trite nuggets of sentiment. But I love them. I love them. This girl who was sent down on a quest and told, this world is hostile, this world is bad, these people will corrupt you, they are not worth your time. And yet she finds beauty. She finds friendship. It's fantastic. It's so wonderfully affirming of the sentiment behind this game that people are just fucking good. People are good. And, I look at the real world and I see plenty of things that are terrible. We do every day. But people are good, guys. People are worth fighting for. Things are going to be okay. I have trouble believing that sometimes. When I play this game, I don't have trouble believing it. Things are going to be okay. Things will get better. Maybe not even in our lifetime. But even if things will eventually get better, we have to struggle through hardships. So here, everything seems okay, but no. The Armada has shown up. Because of course we can't just end the game yet. But it's this notion that the game is setting up. Here are the people that we have bonded with. Here are the people who mean so much to us. Here's the home that we have built. Here are these things that have intense meaning to us as players and to our characters. And we will fight and defend these things. We will stand up for ourselves. And it's an important thing. It is worth fighting for things. A very vague statement, but it's worth it. We've built up something. We have all these things to do. This quest that we went on. Things will get better, but we have a challenge placed before us. And in this case, we are not going to back down. We are going to fight. Because it's worth it. Because that's what we should do. So having that celebratory moment broken up by this attack, I think it's sort of important. Or at least narratively strong, in the sense that it ties us to this place again on an emotional level and then drives us to run out and say, no, we're not going to let you take these things from us. We're going to fight and do what we can. It's a valuable thing. And you would think that it's demoralizing. You would think that it's demoralizing to have the Armada, attack the home base and take the fight to us and etc., etc. But really, we're just driven all the more to stand up for ourselves and to do the right thing. Because it's like I said, things are going to get better. But things don't get better without, without us doing something. Right? Toss as many hurdles as you want in front of us. Have them attack our home. We will stand up. And in the long run, the good guys win. Even after things seem really dark, even in dark moments like this, in a game like this, we can sit back and say, well, the good guys, in the long run, they're going to win. Again, simple sentiments. Incredibly worthwhile sentiments. Or so I believe. And I think these sentiments are very much stressed in these final moments, or these, not really final moments, but in these last sort of set pieces of the game. Ramirez. And so he wants the crystals. Hand them over. And so now we have a choice that is sort of like what you remember, or might remember, from Nazrad, where we gave over the crystals that we had in order to save the city. Here in this case, we actually stand and fight. Because we have come far, we have all of these things, and we will not let the enemy deter us. So here we go. Our first time that we ever really get to fight Ramirez. It is a fight that we cannot win, which is sort of a bummer, right? Video games do that all the time. There's value in that sort of expression, I think. So here it's really I'm not going to attempt to do too much. We can just sort of see Ramirez and get a preview of a boss that will come later on. Listen to some decent music in the background. Go from there. But again, it's that notion that we had expressed with Gregorio on Dangrel Island and multiple times throughout the game. If we're going to lose, we are going to go down swinging. And I feel like when I'm talking about all of these lessons that the game is saying or other things, that I'm being far too trite, or perhaps I am speaking in platitudes. But platitudes implies something that's empty. I don't think that what we're experiencing here is empty. I think the values that we are being shown with this game are incredibly worthwhile, despite their relative simplicity. They are things that should matter. And honestly, we should sit back and take these lessons and values to heart. I think very often it's easy for us to dismiss those sorts of things in games. I think it is very, very easy for us to just sort of see narrative devices or sentiments and sort of have them run through the background of our head and not really engage with them. And I'm not saying that there's anything here that we need to engage with in an incredibly in-depth manner. For shits and giggles, I want to do Lunar Light just once. Even though I can't win this fight, I want to see if Ramirez will show off one of his moves. So, what I'm saying is that there's not something here we need to engage with on like a deep, frenetic level where we need to suss out all of these complex meanings. But instead, it's more of an emotional digest, or digesting, where we sit back and look at all of these messages that the game is sending and really think about them. Silver Eclipse.
There's light. There is darkness.
Awesome attack.
Sword of the Dark Moon.
And so, getting to see Ramirez in battle brings to light an aspect of his character that's so important. And it's this sort of rage that's seeping underneath the surface. Which we see a little bit from time to time, right? But he is possessed of a true anger, and the only thing that he believes in is Galcian. And he's willing to sort of betray his own people, to betray his friend, and all sorts of things in service of this one individual that he sees value in. But when you see Ramirez in combat, there's just this really cold fury. And it's one of the times where I think that the game's combat system and the animations that you find there really express something about the character. This is a cool shot, by the way, of all the magical crystals and everything. Like I said, I'm a sucker for magical crystals, and so a shot like this is really great. So he has all the crystals. The people of this world don't deserve to live. He's got a lot of anger. He's sort of a nihilist in a very painful sense. But he learns something else to believe in, or finds something else to believe in, and that's Galcian, right? So he's talking about, oh, you know, all these people are are decadent and all these things, right? But he finds somebody who has higher ambitions, right? One that was different from all the rest, Lord Galcian. He was he was swayed by neither flattery nor gold. He also had little faith in the people of this world. The only thing that mattered to him was power. Right? It's very compelling for Ramirez to find somebody who has this sort of will to power, who will cleanse the land and rise up and lead the world into a future, as opposed to just destroy it all. Right? A man like Galcia needs to rule this world. Only he can unlock its potential. Ramirez buys into this. He swears an oath. I would lay down my sword and my life for Lord Galcian. The amount of devotion, again, by the way, is one of the reasons why I read a certain degree of actual romantic love here. I don't think it's just a notion of chivalry. I don't know if that's a proper swashbuckling choice or not. Maybe it is. But Ramirez doesn't tell us everything, but we don't know the true purpose of the moon crystals. What? There's more to them than meets the eye? Yes. The power to call down the rains of destruction lies hidden within them. Fina, you knew that it was our people that called down the rains of destruction, did you not? And shit starts just, like, changing, right? Like, why are we getting these crystals? What can they do? We were sent so that the elders could unearth the lost continent of Soltis. That is our true mission. The continent shall rise from deep sky, and they will use it to unleash the rains of destruction. And, like, really, the plot just kicks into high gear here. You only have 5 crystals. The battle isn't over till you have all 6. And Ramirez is like, yeah, don't worry about that. He's like, I got that shit. And then Fina also has a moon crystal. All Sylvites are born with a piece of the silver crystal within them. It contains their life force. So, like I'm saying, shit just keeps on getting realer and realer. So he's gonna try and take the crystal from Fina, which is bull crap. But of course we have our heroes in any situation. In this case, Gilder and the crew of the crew of the Claudia, the crew of the Claudia. So it's this big plot on Galcian and Ramirez's part. Galcian just waits until the crystals are all in one place and then just sends his lieutenant to steal them. Like, while the rest of the armada is going around for Theodora chasing us, Galcian's just chilling. Like, he's just waiting. And so that's sort of what's going on there. Galcian playing the long con, as it were. And we have all of these revelations, and, you know, our world, our home is destroyed, and it seems like all is lost, but we'll sort of deal with it as everything goes on. Because as we know, in a game like this, we don't give up. even after ideological betrayals, even after sort of cataclysmic events like this, it's easy to lose hope. What are we supposed to do now? We'll not give up. That's the one thing that we won't do, is give up. Rebuild the base, get the crystals, do what we can. Right? The game doesn't even sit back and let us wallow in self-pity for too long. It just says, you know what? This shit happened, and we're gonna bounce back. Taking a minute to soak in the scene. Trying to gather my thoughts regarding Fina. Because this is, if any segment, if any little miniature arc is hers, this is definitely it. She has to struggle the most with the nature of her quest. She needs to struggle with a lot of things. And for now, I think it's almost more fitting to just sort of present everything.
Uh-huh.
Because it's very rare that we actually see her in a position of doubt. And our proper choice here is to say that we understand, if she needs time. That's the hero thing to do. And so she doesn't know what to believe, but everybody else is going to give her the example to aspire to, right? It's not just Vise and Aika, but everybody else. Gilder complains, but he still helps. The crew just pitches in, helps everyone. Nothing lasts forever, that's why we build new stuff. It's pretty great. I enjoy it. And so now we get to see the villainous end of things. The day of domination of the world is drawing near. I almost have less to say in this segment more than I just want to show it off. We have one last character that we really need to consider, though. And that's Beleza. She's torn. She's torn between that devotion that she feels towards Galcian and then the devotion she feels towards protecting life, which is genuine. It wasn't an act. And so what I like about this section of the game is that things like... I keep on talking about the latter part of the game being the part where things are really played with and become more complex. And I think it's true. Interpersonal relationships are more complicated. The actions of certain characters are different. So Galcian says, hey, go to the Imperial Palace and, you know, use your trickery, stop unnecessary bloodshed, but he's playing her like a fucking fiddle. At the same time, we have this notion of Fina being betrayed by those who were sending her on her quest. We have all of these overlapping notions of betrayal and interpersonal dynamics of who's trusting who and all of these things. And again, I'm not sitting here and saying that this is ridiculously complex, but what I am saying is that the game is stepping it up. What is happening is, you know, we've moved beyond the simple space of, okay, well, let's go to this place and let's go to this dungeon. It's more like, okay, now the enemies have all of this stuff. We need to figure out what our plans are. You know, there's a lot to really digest, I think. I think the game, if anything, this is where the game really acquits itself the best. And it will acquit itself especially well in the climax of the game. And so Fina wants everybody to head to the Great Silver Shrine. So I'm tempted to sit here and talk about Fina and the multiple things that I have to say about her, and I'll make the attempt because the next segment is going to be full of plenty of things, and it's going to be probably the most defining moment for her in terms of confronting people in power, of subverting all of these individuals. And I want to say that that's one of the things that makes me love Fina so much. Gilder's coming with us too, because Gilder's awesome. Get distracted by Gilder for a minute. It's good to have good friends. So I've talked about Fina before as somebody who subverts the structural expectations of people around her, which I think is true. And I think we'll see that once we get to the Silver Shrine, and I'll talk about that, I guess, when we get there. It's so hard to know when to pace things in this segment. Alfonso has headed back to Valua. Enrique has shown up. All sorts of things are going on. Like I said, the game really just, all of these interactions, all of these things building on top of each other, it's wonderful. Enrique, you know, we must get all our people to shelter quickly. Theodoric, not able to see that picture. If we can get all the moon crystals, then we'll do that. We'll take care of this. Alfonso is now the commander of the Valuan Armada, and you're like, freaking shit, Valua is fucking clueless. Right? And we have all of these people showing up, all of these multiple individuals. It's very interesting. And Enrique... This is... Like, so many people have crazy things to do this. In this segment, rather. Enrique says that if he has to, for his country and for his people, no! he will kill whoever he has to. He will fight his mother, he will fight Alfonso. Now, Beleza does a judo chop, but what the fuck ever. But still, it's this whole thing where it's like everybody's allegiances and everybody's sort of loyalties and their thoughts are really being put to the test. This is the crucible through which people are challenged on an emotional level, and then we sort of move on, and when we get to the big climactic sort of battle sequence, that's that's the physical crucible, where we have to sort of deal with Galcian. But let's head to the Silver Shrine, and let me try to talk about Fina. So, Fina, there's a lot of things I admire about Fina, and I'm going to stumble through this because I've not particularly had a lot of time to sit and really give thought to what I think I should do when it comes to talking about her as a character. So let's get a couple of things out of the way that I feel a need to defend, and perhaps it's a misplaced need to defend. If only because of the weird culture in which we live nowadays. Let me say that one of the primary things I admire about Fina is her open femininity. By which I don't mean physical weakness or subservience or any of those stupid bullshit things that people talk about when they talk about femininity in this weird patriarchal sense, right? Where, women are this or that such a thing. What I mean about Fina's femininity is that let's talk about some of those things that are positive qualities of what people might consider quote-unquote traditionally feminine, which is a stupid term anyway, and I hope that my talking about it in these terms doesn't dissuade anybody from the point I'm trying to make. Kindness, empathy, these are not things that are limited to women, but these sort of qualities are, in a sense, things that are attributed, to women more often than, say, masculine notions, which are, aggression or things like that. I mean, let's just, testosterone being what it is and things like that. Also, let's just stop and just say that the space is really fun to explore. I admire the fact that Fina can be a feminine character in a semi-traditional sense, and have all of these empathic and sort of softer qualities, because, and perhaps this is foolish of me, to some degree in my mind she represents an ideal that I wish to chase for myself. I wish I could be that kind. I wish I could be that empathetic. I struggle with it. I struggle with it a lot. I find value sometimes with Fina via a certain type of projection. A projection which is hard to explain given my gender struggles. I don't think I understood it when I was young. But I think I identified so much with Fina because I saw in her a person that I would have loved to have been. And not just in this raw sense of, oh, I would have loved to have been born with the right chromosomes, so I wouldn't have to deal with 20-so years of not being able to be who I truly am. Which is a fucking hard thing to talk about. What I mean is that in Fina, I saw a manifestation of femininity that resonated with me. And that I struggle to explain. I'm struggling right now to explain exactly what it was that resonated so much. There's a beauty, there's a grace, things that I wish I possessed that I don't know if I do. But underneath that, there's a bravery and a desire to question things. I like Fina a lot because she questions things, and not just because there are certain things she doesn't know about. I mean, she enters the world of Arcadia and she doesn't know certain things. And so she has questions in that regard. And I'm just exploring the space so I can pad out time so I can discuss Fina. She questions the fundamental sort of structures that exist within spaces. She stands up to Empress Theodora. She says to Dine's face that she cannot disclose what her mission is. And in this segment, she is going to have plenty of things to say to the elders of her civilization. So for all of that talk about Fina, where I've had to parse and figure out how to deal with the notion of, you know, traditional feminine qualities. One thing I don't have to deal with is this notion that Fina is subservient to social structures or norms that we might find silly. She finds them equally as silly, and she puts voices to those concerns. She wants the people in charge of her civilization to stand up and see the beauty of the world that she has seen. She understands notions of personal responsibility. There's something incredibly admirable about that. And that's not to say that Vise and the others don't participate in a similar sort of condemnation of structures that are not risible, right? We don't laugh at them, but certainly structures that we wish to diminish. Vise and Ica do this through a sort of open rebellion, right? They do so through their lifestyle. They do so by being pirates. Gilder does this as well. Enrique, not as much. He stays within the structures of the system, sort of the way Gregorio did. Fina enters into spaces, learns about those spaces, and I mean, she takes the time to learn about those spaces. She is genuinely curious about those things. And then she figures out what is wrong and confronts it as best she can. I admire that. I admire it deeply. I wish I had the grace and the good sense of mind to be able to do such things, but I sometimes feel that I am lacking in the eloquence to do so. Or there are other times in my life where I've learned the value of silence. Fina has a lack of you know, she's uninhibited in certain ways. She speaks up. Everybody should speak up. I try to. But the way she speaks up here in this game is wonderful. Her bravery is very pure. Her honesty is a different type of honesty than what Vise has. The kindness that she has shines through everything. And it sets an example that I would love to sort of bring myself to live up to. That's why I think she's a wonderful character, and why she's one of the most important characters I've encountered in any fiction. And we will see this here. She was sent on a mission. She has learned potentially that this mission is not what it seems, and she is going to talk back to those who have sent her on that mission, and she's not going to listen to sort of the the lines that these elders are going to sell her. Right? So let's see it expressed in this scene. She has found the value of other people, the people, you know, Vise, Ica, Gilder, everybody else. The Elder hasn't. The Elder is arrogant and thinks that these people are primitive. Fina has gone down and seen that these people are good and genuine and worth fighting for. And she does not sit back and let these people, or her elders, the people who constitute all of her civilization, she doesn't step down. And you can see it here. She wants to know the truth. What the hell is going on? Right? The time has come to tell you everything. Fina's desire to find the truth in things, Fina's desire to aid others, is wonderful. And certainly other characters in this game possess that same quality, but Fina possesses it in a way that I really admire, and I wish I had a stronger way of discussing it. I hope I did okay. Camera angle here is a bit funny just because of the way that we are playing this game. I don't remember it being like this so much. So now we're going to hear about the history of Arcadia. See a record of the reigns of destruction and everything else. Soltis, the continent that flourished under the light of the silver moon. I mean, we're getting a lot of expository stuff in this segment of the game, but it alters what we understand our quest was. So, I talk about subversions in this game. One of the greatest subversions that occurs in this game is the fact that you are not gathering crystals to save the world. You are gathering crystals to destroy the world. Now, that's not what your characters want. But if the mission had succeeded, that is what would have happened. Not brilliant, not game-changing, but another case of the game taking something that we understand from traditional JRPG structures, you know, gather the magic rocks, save the world, and it says, no, gather the magic rocks and we'll destroy the world. The game is definitely, to an extent, playing with the idea of JRPG quests. Not in a savage way, not in the way that, you know, it's not making a huge meta commentary, but it does offer some implicit commentary about going on a quest and not necessarily judging, you know, why am I getting these magic stones? Okay, I guess I'm stopping large monsters, but what's going on? You just sort of go about the game and you take the traditional structure for granted, and then the game shows you how the traditional structure of the JRPG can actually be used to further sort of nefarious or misguided purposes. So using the moon crystals and the power of Zelos, the Silver Gigas, they summoned the rains of destruction to end the threat of what was happening down below, and they sundered the world. And you can figure out all kinds of possible implications, right? Were all these landmasses connected? Probably not. We have reason to believe they weren't based on discoveries that we found, but what was the nature of the world of Arcadia before all this? This is a setting that I think is fairly rich, and you could do a lot with it. You could do something after this game, because the world has changed so much. You could do it in the age of early exploration. You could do it during ancient times. I think this is a world that is rife and full of possibility, and it is all the worse for us that Sega has not decided to capitalize on that. Right? It's a true shame, and I don't say that lightly. There are certain cases with games where I think it's a true shame that we don't get sequels, or we don't get more time with these characters or these spaces. I accept Skies of Arcadia for what it is, and I cherish it for what it is, but I also lament what might have been, or what could be. A lot of franchises on the Dreamcast were fairly stillborn. This is one of the most egregious. And Fina has the best thing here. So, like, the elders are like, you guys can stay on the shrine, and we'll destroy the world, and that will be that. Vise is like, fucking, are you insane? And Fina is having trouble figuring out what's going on. Like, her total, like, emotional threshold has been reached, and yet she is going to break through that sort of wall that's been built up, and then says no. It's awesome. And again, this is why I admire Fina. She will say to the people who have raised her, to the people who she's lived with all their life, you're wrong. And if there's one character in the game who stands up and says that in the most meaningful ways, it's Fina. I've learned that no matter what happens, you have to be strong. Even if your home is burned to the ground, even if you're facing impossible odds, and even when you don't know who to trust, you have to be strong and fight for a better future. Trite, again, I say it every time, trite, simple ideas. Worthwhile. Trite as they are, worth reaffirming. As long as the people of the world have that strength in their hearts, they will be able to overcome anything. Sentiments that I want to believe about the world that I live in right now. Of course, we face our challenge again, Galcian. Ramirez betraying his people. Like I said, this segment of the game just goes all out. It's wonderful how the stretches that it goes to. We've had all of this build up with these villains in the background, and then finally they strike. It's this incredibly slow burn. Galcian and Ramirez are in the background, and then finally, boom, they strike. And this is probably one of the only times we get any type of, not necessarily reciprocation from Galcian in terms of the feelings that I think that Ramirez has for Galcian. But Galcian understands Ramirez as a valuable tool. And that's probably the most affectionate Galcian will ever get towards anybody in the game. which is fucking sad. Like you know, he doesn't get it. But now he has the 6 crystals, and he is going to cause some shit. It's really amazing. This is strange to me. I don't want to dwell on it. I have massive death anxiety, partially caused by a fear of nothingness and what that might entail. And so it's very interesting to me in a game. It's interesting to me in a game anytime a game offers, or a character offers, some sort of commentary on the afterlife. So he's free. He's returned to a state of nothingness. Sort of showing how this civilization functions. Just noteworthy on my own part. Fina taking the lessons that she's learned to heart, though. I refuse to give up. Even after this, even with tears in her eyes, she will not stand by and watch evil go unchallenged. It's wonderful. I say wonderful and great, and I toss these things out almost too liberally. But I feel it. This section is owned by Fina. She dominates it. She dominates my thoughts when I think about this game, largely. She is the hero that I aspire to be. You know? Everybody has one. From fiction and from elsewhere. My real-life hero is Bill Hicks. Fina is my video game hero. And for me, at least, I can't think of anybody better. At least not for me. Everybody else has their own. You have your own. We're going to end our episode here, but think about the heroes in your life. Family members, friends, writers, comedians. And then think about the ones in your fiction. What do you aspire to? Those are important questions to ask. That is an important question to ask. Skies makes it very easy for me. And that is one of the reasons I think it's a great game. So, I will see you in the next segment. Thank you very much for watching. I love you very much. Bye.